Markers, 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 markers. Sorry, marker haters, but today I'm going to be delivering another marker video. Very much unfortunately for those of you who hate the markers. I know there are some of you out there who do not like markers at all. But the reason for that is that today I'm using a technique in my drawing that's very that needs to be controlled and very well, and markers is the best way to do it. Watercolor perhaps works very well, but it could get out of control and out of the lines perhaps. So unfortunately, marker haters, I'm sorry. Here is another marker video. Hi guys, and welcome back to The Drawing Life. I'm your host Ian Su, and today we're going to be doing, unfortunately, another marker video. As you may have seen in the very beginning of this video, in that goofy intro I did where I talked about the marker haters and how people did not like it. I know there are some people who love markers, and I am among one of you who love markers. Today we're going to be learning how to draw the World Trade Center as requested by someone on my website. I get a lot of requests on my website, but keep in mind, of course, you can also comment on my YouTube channel and request from there, but of course feel free to comment on my website as well. I'll link to my website in the description box below, but let's get into it. Alright everybody, let's get started with today's Drawing Life video, and I just want to clarify a little bit. Today's video is going to be the Drawing Life, the very first in the series, actually the 50th video in the series. I never thought I would get this far, but the 50th video in the Drawing Life series, formerly known as the video lessons. I'll definitely link to that in the description box below. There's a full playlist of video lessons that were all formerly called video lessons until I decided to change the name to The Drawing Life, as you saw in that intro made by Biteable.com that I will definitely also link to in the description box below. Alright, let's get into it. Today we're going to be drawing the World Trade Center. And it's a very simple thing to draw, actually, but I'm just going to put this ruler at an angle and start drawing. And you know what, I'm going to refocus. Okay, so I just moved the camera over so that you could see the whole drawing in effect. I just put the ruler at an angle like this so that we could start working on the drawing. And starting from number 1, this is, by the way, a Westcott 15-inch. It has a magnifying glass right here, in case you're wondering what this blue thing was. Starting from around here, or here, let's see, around here. I'm gonna move down. See if you can see that. I'm gonna erase it because sorry, it's going out of off camera here. Just gonna erase it until you can see the eraser marks. And then gonna erase it away. Erase the eraser marks away. I don't know if that's possible, but I really hate those eraser marks, which is why I often use a kneaded eraser to, you know, just get the things away. Well, let us continue. I'm going to take, you know, I'm gonna take a smaller ruler because it will be a little bit easier to work with, and just put the ruler at another angle. So just draw 2 of these parallel lines. Not parallel lines. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? They're not exactly parallel. But there are 2 lines that are the exact same length, except they're both going that way. So I'm gonna finish off a little bit more on time lapse, and we'll be back to talk about it. Okay, so at this point, I actually quite ventured a little bit farther than I really should have. Sorry about that, but I will explain most of what I did here. What I did was as you can see, there were 2 parallel lines. I connected them with one of these, with one straight line like that. Then below, I did this like triangle thing, almost if I connect them, it would look like a triangle. So just move up and then down, like that. And then I drew this huge triangle right here. I think most of you will be able to see on the camera. Let me check. Yeah. Sorry, the camera's a bit high up, so I had to keep looking up to make sure that it's still in focus. Now I'm going to figure out this angle over here, like it, and like that, and then it goes like that. So I'm doing the bottom of the center of the building at this moment, and then like just a few lines this way. And you know what? I'm gonna finish off some of these lines in time lapse. Okay, so just to clarify a little bit, I intentionally put the World Trade Center quite a bit over on this side because I want to make more buildings over here so that we can have a nice reflection thing right here. That little technique that I'll do with the markers later on. Yeah, I'll explain a little bit of what I did here. Let's see. I just did this line. I just crisscrossed a few lines like that, and then darkened in some of these lines. Like just like that. No need to make perfectly straight lines. We can fix that perhaps in the inking process later on, but I believe it is time to get in more details. Okay, so the more I looked at pictures, the more I realized that there was these lines right here in the middle of the triangle right here. And now I'm going to start getting in some of the lines right here using a ruler. Sorry about this. Just moving in just parallel to this line at the very bottom. Just gonna go all the way up, and then over here. So I'm gonna be doing that in time lapse. Sorry about all this time lapse. Maybe later in the coloring process, I'll be able to come back with some real advice about how to you know, make it look like the real one. But I think that this is not exactly necessary to be done in real time because it's going to take forever. So let's do this in time lapse, and we'll be right back to talk about it. Okay, so I just got in some of these lines here. One thing to think about is that you don't need to worry about this area because it's mainly going to be markered in like that with the darker area, but you have to focus on this area to get every single line perfect. Not in the sketching stage, probably in the inking stage later on, but yeah, that's basically it for the World Trade Center. We have finished our guidelines and the contours basically, and now I'm going to get in some more of the buildings on the side that make that are surrounding the World Trade Center. So as you can see, sort of struggling for the right perspective here because I had not put any perspective lines. I believe this might be in like sort of 3-point perspective, maybe add this to one of my perspective videos. But keep in mind, this is not really a video on how to draw these two buildings. I'm just adding them in here. This is more of a video of how to draw this building. So let's get on with the video. I'm going to let's get into colors now. Alright, so time to pull out the markers. I'm going to be using a Copic, and one mistake that many Copic artists make is they color too fast. Like, they color in the entire thing and it does not look good. You gotta be slow with Copic markers. If I have never said that already, I'm saying it again. And especially with these Copic markers because they're alcoholic. They bleed quite a bit, so you have to be using the good thick paper. Let me see if I can put the end of the paper to show you. This is a sort of a cardstock paper. Like, you know, like it's very thick and sturdy, so it doesn't bleed through the paper. And this is sort of a video for markering techniques, but I have another video in which I talk about markering techniques. I don't really want to go through this entire video real time, so, but I did promise that I would do some real time Copicing, markering probably, so that I will keep to my promise, and we will see how this gets. And one trade-off in real-time drawing is that you get a loss of commentary from me because I'm not very good at giving narration at every single point of the video. But one thing that I do know is that I'm going to go into time lapse at some point in this video, and what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be doing a base layer of Copic right here, right? And a very base layer of Copic, and I'm going to go on top of it again, just to make it look a bit darker. Don't know if it's showing up on the camera here, but later we will fix that with color pencil, even if it doesn't show up on the page. And now I'm gonna close the Copic. By the way, I'm using a Copic a Copic Sketch, a B02. It's the Robin's Egg Blue. That's what I'm seeing here. I don't know if you can see that. Focus, man. Camera, never mind. Now you get this blurriness right here. Well, now we're gonna get to the Prismacolor part of this, and I'm gonna be going in with some very dark, maybe too dark blue. That's for the shadow, and I'm just gonna using the broad end of the marker. And by the way, these markers, these Prismacolor markers, they're really big, so they're sometimes hard to work with because they're so big. And you know what? I'm going to go into time lapse because I've already talked about the base layer and everything. For the Copic part of this, I'm going to finish this triangle off, and we'll be back to talk about it. So as you can see, a little bleed through there, and that's the trade-off when using the broad end. You might go into that, whoops. But that's no matter. We could always fix that later with the color pencil. It's gonna go into shading. Anyway, so let's continue. I'm gonna go on markering and using the broad end of the marker once more. The chisel tip. This is the Prismacolor Premier. This is the Ultramarine, is what I'm seeing here. PM44. If any one of you is trying to buy this particular one and wondering what the number is, and I think I'll take this moment because I have run out of commentary about this markering, to talk about the different kinds of Copic markers. Copic markers come in 3 kinds, and they are all very expensive, mind you. There are no Copic price tricks that I have here to talk about, unfortunately. But if you know Copic, you know that they're very expensive. $10 for one marker, and a set of perhaps 12 could cost you about $100. It's a lot of money. It could hurt your wallet quite a bit, but it is so worth it. I personally do not buy a set. I go to Michael's and buy one at a time so that I don't burn my entire wallet down just like that. And but I do know the 3 types of Copic markers. The very first Copic marker invented was the Copic Classic, and it had a chisel tip in the very beginning, and also this fine tip. You know what? Let me show you an example of the fine tip, like this, and the chisel tip. So it was exactly like the Prismacolor markers back then. But then of course the Copic Sketch came along, and that's the variant I love to use. The Copic Sketch here. Let me show you. This is what the Copic Sketch looks like, and it has a brush tip, but it also has the chisel tip. So that's why I love to use it, because the brush tip just feels so comfortable. But sometimes, very occasionally, I go to the chisel tip and use that end. And one thing about the Copic markers is that they're refillable, very easily refillable. Just get the ink and the brush on top of it, and you get the refill. And the very last variant of Copic markers is the Copic Ciao, or Xiao, or Chiao, or well, I can't find a name for these. Copic Ciao, I think it is. Ciao. Sounds like the Italian ciao, goodbye. What makes them different? They're the same actually. They're exactly like the Copic Sketch, only they don't have the color identity like the like it won't say Robin's Egg Blue, is what's showing up here. Robin's Egg Blue. It won't say anything like that. It will, it will just say the BO2 or something like that. And the cap is completely colored like this, and it won't have it on the head. And they are also smaller. They have less ink, and which is why they are less expensive, but they last quite a bit shorter, unfortunately. And yes, that's the difference between that's the 3 different kinds of Copic markers. I believe I have gone near to the end of this markering process right after I finish off this building right here. So I'm not exactly looking great at this time. By the way, I switched to the Mala marker sheet one I bought at IKEA. Works well. And now I'm going to switch a little bit to so I can do a little bit of reflections here. Just this cool little marking technique that I was thinking about just before. And these are actually getting kind of dried out, so I have to be very careful with them not to get it messed up. And there will also be a little reflection here, perhaps. And there was one huge reflection right here. And now I'm going to go back to the Copic for one last time, before switching to the color pencil, just to quickly go through this right here. And I believe now it is time to ink this drawing, and then we will switch to color pencil. Okay, so before I switch to that, I just want to talk a little bit about the pen I'm using. Everybody knows it well, the Pigma Micron. This is the 03 that I'm using today. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so just to clarify, this is a really hard drawing to ink. All these lines, oh my goodness, it took me like at least half an hour to get this done. Really long time. But I believe it is time to finally put down the pen, and let's bring on the color pencils. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here with a Prismacolor Premier indigo blue to add some shading and reflections to this drawing. And one thing I'm going to start with is right here on the bottom of the triangle, and go really lightly up in a circular fashion. I know some of you may have seen this, so I'm not going to bore you out with the technique again. Go through here real light, and let's see here. Now I'm gonna go into this area in the bottom. Really slow and tedious, this process, but you always get a really great result in the end. And I'm going to finish off some of this coloring pencil back in time lapse later on, but I did want you to see how I do these things, how I shade in. And let us continue on this in time lapse. Okay, so there you have it. The World Trade. There's my World Trade Center video. Sort of a, you know, what would you call it? Cartoony versus realistic, because I had this, you know, reflections here, but then I had this really quirky, cartoony inking style. I believe it is finally time to lay down the pen. Thank you so much for watching episode 50 of The Drawing Life, formerly called Video Lessons. I will definitely link to the playlist below. But thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos every single week, and I'll see you next time.